Vindication!
Hey there, Best Buds, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm Ray. I still don't have a setup I'm in love with, but today... What's going on outside? But today, we're going to be looking at Zack Snyder's Justice League. Oh my god! Can't believe this is actually out. It's been forever. For the three of you that don't know the whole saga behind this film, basically, Zack Snyder had a 5-movie plan for a DC Cinematic Universe. And it was going to start with Man of Steel, and then the second one turned into Batman vs. Superman, and then we got Justice League. We were going to get Justice League 2 and 3. But then, during Justice League 1, back in 2016, his daughter tragically passed away, so he needed to leave. WB wasn't really super cool with what he was doing with the universe anymore. They didn't have a lot of faith. Ironic, because, Superman's in there, and it's about faith and hope and stuff. They brought in Joss Whedon, the guy who did the Avengers, and everyone was like, okay, it's going to be good. The cut's basically done. He's going to do some reshoots. No. Whedon did a whole bunch of reshoots for no reason, and WB was all behind it. And then apparently WB saw that cut, and they're like, oh my god, what did we do? Then after that came out, and it bombed terribly, and it was not a great movie, despite my initial giving of an 8 score. Ugh, my bad. I was drinking that Kool-Aid. Release the Snyder Cut hashtag started, and it's kept going and going and going, and they raised money for charity and things like that, and then eventually HBO Max comes out, and then WB's like, hey, let's put out that Snyder Cut that you've been teasing for a while, Zach, and all you actors, and everyone's been demanding it, and let's put it out, because it's basically done, just need some monies. So we gave you the money, finished the film, they added a couple extra cool things, and here we are. And that's the tale of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Oh, that was a bit of a ramble. Let me get some tea. Let me tell you something. This movie was worth the wait. My god, I loved it. Every elongated, bloated minute. So good. But before we get into all that, if you're feeling saucy, why don't you go down and hit that subscribe button? I saw a few new subscribers pop in there, and the time when I wasn't making videos. I assume it's because St. Patrick's Day had just happened, and some people watch my Luck of the Irish review again. I keep forgetting that's a seasonal review people like to watch, so thanks, and welcome. So yeah, let's get into my thoughts on the Snyder Cut of Justice League. So like I said, I gave the original cut an 8. That was very lenient of me. Not an 8, definitely not an 8. So I watched Man of Steel, I watched Batman vs. Superman, and I watched this Justice League, ironically on top of Master Chief, because it's a monument to WB sins. I watched them in preparation, and I'm really glad I did, because it opened my eyes to a lot of the flaws of this film, and it definitely gave me a better appreciation for Snyder's original vision. At some point, maybe I will re-review this movie. I don't know. I had a lot of plans going up to Justice League. I was going to do a whole run-up of DC movies, and I just procrastinated. Now everything's late, and the anxiety sets in. But honestly, after rewatching that movie, it is so embarrassing what they put out, considering what the bedrock, what they had to work with, because this movie was done. There were even some scenes that were completely finished, that were just scrapped and reshot, or just completely ignored. Some of those were because Joss Whedon wanted to put his own little stamp on the film. Others, like a scene where the Flash has to ping pong around some rocks to save a bunch of people from falling debris, he thought audiences were too dumb to understand what was going on. So I don't know what his problem is. Not to bag on him too much more in this review, but the product that we got from Whedon and the WB executives coming together and mishmashing everything, it's embarrassing, and it's a far inferior film. I am so glad that some of my favorite scenes were actually Snyder's, because they're still in here. And this isn't a spoiler, because this is stuff that was in the original film, but we have the history lesson, as it's been called, where it's the ancient times and it's Darkseid's forces attacking Atlanteans and Amazonians and a Green Lantern and the Greek gods and all this stuff. Really cool. I'm glad that's in there. I'm glad that we also get the Superman versus the League scene. That was great. That's an awesome scene. It's been altered, as much of this has. There's a lot of trimming going on. But that is also in there. I love that scene. And, Professor Lupin's in there a lot more, which makes sense why he's even credited in the movie in the first place. And also, another scene I really enjoyed, or no, 2 scenes, but they're towards the end of the film. The whole Batman buying the bank to help out Martha Kent, that's great. I love that. And also the Hall of Justice reveal. I loved that part. I thought it was great. I'm so glad it's all still in here. Now, the story of Justice League, at its core, is the same as the original release. It's still about Batman bringing together the Justice League members. It's still about Steppenwolf coming down, trying to get all these mother boxes to secure the planet for Doomsday. It's still about the resurrection of Superman. But it is so fleshed out. There's so much more meat on these bones. It's a completely different film. The characters have a lot more depth. Even Steppenwolf, the villain, not the band, the villain, who has a complete redesign, an entirely different backstory than what they've given, and it's one that actually makes him seem, I don't want to say sympathetic, but he's got a lot more going on. Cyborg and Flash have some really great moments, some really powerful moments, great backstories and story arcs in this film. I loved them both. And Flash has one of the coolest superhero scenes I've seen in a movie. Hot take. In fact, all the main cast, all the Leaguers, including Alfred, they all get their moment to shine. It's really cool. I love the scene when Superman swoops in there and joins the League at the end. It's so much better. The humor in this film works way better than that in the original. And that's mostly because, Joss Whedon's thing, and it's in all the Marvel movies. There's a lot of just, quippy, quick quippy jokes, And that's not really the tone that was set up in the preceding films. It's not that kind of movie. And those jokes, nowhere to be seen. We don't have the Flash landing on Wonder Woman's boobs for reasons. The brunch thing's gone. We don't have the, you talk to fish thing. But we do get to keep the I'm rich as my superpower joke. But all that stuff works because it fits the characters and the way they deliver it. Now, the movie is just over 4 hours, like a couple minutes. That's a long movie. A lot of people are going to have issues with that. Personally, I'm not. I can handle a long movie. It's got a little bit of a slow burn lead up, which I'm fine with. I like slow burn films. And it's just an epic film. I was not bored at all. I was entertained throughout. I loved every moment, and I wanted it to be longer. Is that because we might not get a sequel? Yes. Now, I do have a couple things I wasn't as big of a fan of in this movie. We've got some musical choices by Zack Snyder. Not my favorites. It's weird. It's kind of like the Peter Griffin joke where he hits his leg, where they start and I'm into them, but then they're here a little too long, and then they get a little weird, but then I start to like them again. So it's a weird mix. But Tom, let me see what his name is, because he doesn't go by Junkie XL right now. Tom Holkenberg? Yeah, Tom Holkenberg. Great score. Speed of Force is a fantastic piece of music, and it's so well used. I loved it. His score is great. Some of the weird musical choices, but this is what he wanted to make, so we gotta respect that. We can critique it, but we gotta respect it. Another thing I wasn't too sure if I would like is the structure and the format of the film. Now, what I mean by the structure of the film is that it's broken up into chapters, and it even has this chapter ends, fade to black, chapter 2, such and such, then fade to black, chapter 3, so it does that. And at first, I wasn't sure if I'd like that. But then, it just felt like I was being told this epic story, like a chapter book type of deal. So, I like that a lot. It was really cool. The other thing is the formatting, where normally you got the black bars up here, down here. In this one, you have black bars here. Let me gauge it up to the camera, right? So here, and over here. That side. So it's just the block in the middle. And some people were, upset by that. It's you're cutting off a lot of the film going like this. But no. What happens is, with this format, and I've seen a video or two explaining it. When you have the format like this whole block is the IMAX shot. You know what I mean? So there's a lot more going on up here, down here. And in reality, when they do a theatrical cut like this and they format it differently, they just zoom in. So you're not losing anything here. You'd really just be losing stuff here with the black bars. So I actually really ended up liking it. It's not too distracting. It's nothing like when Nolan does a movie and it just goes from black bars, then full screen, then black bars again, then full screen again. Nolan, stop it. I don't like that. Honestly, there's so much that I want to say about this movie. I'm really out of practice with doing movie reviews, as you can tell by the lack of content. But I know I'm going to miss some things, and ultimately, I love this movie. I'm so glad he got to come back, finish his take on the film, add a few extra little spices in there to give us a little tease for what's to come, hopefully. And overall, it's so good. Like, I was hoping it would be because I love Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, and I wanted to see what he kept doing. But it's just such an epic movie. It sets up some elements for a bigger universe. Some things might contradict because other films came out after this, but it also kind of feels conclusive in a way. Zack Snyder's Justice League gets a 9 out of 10. I do really hope we get a Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3 in some way. If they go animated, that's fine, I'll take it, but I would really prefer live action. Because, much like other big movie series, and he's said this in a couple interviews, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Look at Lord of the Rings. Why is that so beloved? It's because it concludes. And his initial plan was to leave the universe in a way where you could have spin-offs, but it was also finished and like primed for a reboot. And I honestly prefer that type of cinematic universe compared to what Marvel's doing. Not that they're doing anything wrong, clearly they're not. But it's 20-something movies, and they just keep going and going and going. Whereas, in a perfect world, the Snyderverse would have been done. They could have had a few spin-offs. A reboot would occur. Do another, 10 years of movies. Do another reboot and keep going and going. And eventually you could do something like a Crisis on Infinite Earths like they did on the TV shows. That would be amazing. And I really hope they could, pardon my French, but get their shit together and do that. WB, you're a bunch of lunatics. Also, you don't want to release the Ayer cut, but it is a literal finished cut. You just had someone else recut and redo. Why wouldn't you just put that on HBO Max just to please some fans? Get yourself more subscriptions, guys. Come on. It's not hard. I get it. I'm not an executive, but what's the reasoning for all this meat crop going on? So that's my review for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I absolutely loved it. I'm so glad he was able to finally release his vision unaltered and give us a little bit of extra, in there with the Joker scenes. Oh boy, that was pretty good. Been a while. I'm rusty at this. Hopefully I can put out more videos in the future. I actually have a real fun idea for a video explaining how Zack Snyder's already technically completed his Snyderverse. But more on that another time. Like I said in the beginning, if you want to go down and subscribe, definitely do that. I appreciate it. Give the video a like. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the Justice League and share it with a movie-loving friend. Thanks for watching, everybody. See ya.